0 Hour back. Tim Lloyd, joined by Jeff Hobbs, Dylan McCarthy. It is the 0 Hour brought to you by Smoky Mountain CBD. And today it is our preview of Chattanooga Fight Night. It's going down this Saturday, October 29th, Camp Jordan Arena, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Got the folks from NFC and Conflict in the house. And it's going to be a fun time. Jeff? Of course, we've got about to roll into a busy fall. This will be the first of three weeks in a row in a way for us, kind of in a roundabout way. Anyway, we include the youth tournament in between November 11th and October 29th. But I'm ready to dive back to it. Actually, got energy going into this one.
Yeah, for me, the energy, and of course, it's fight weekend, so that's always exciting. But you know what? I mean, it just happens to be the way it is. And this Saturday is October 29th, and it will officially be 1 year of Aries Fight Series. We started exactly one year ago to the day in the same venue in Chattanooga. So it's pretty cool, and it's fitting that our first show ever was on October 29th in Chattanooga at Camp Jordan. And this Saturday, exactly 1 year later, we are back at Camp Jordan in Chattanooga, East Ridge, doing it again. It's called Chattanooga Fight Night, but it's about the 14th show, I think, for us in 1 year's time, 14th or 15th show in 1 year's time. So huge accomplishment, and for us.
Yeah, man, it's definitely been a busy year. 14, 15 events put on, and it's going to be a busy 2023 ahead of us as well. Dylan, you'll be back in the commentary booth this weekend. 3 title fights on deck. I'm sure you're excited to chop it all up.
Oh, nobody is happier to be here for this one in Chattanooga than me. I got the best seat in the house. A big happy birthday to Aries. That's amazing. 1 year older, 1 year wiser. This is the third.
Definitely wiser, Dylan. Definitely wiser.
This is the third of 3 co-promotion shows. We've got 3 great guys here to talk to fights, and we've got 3 great title fights. So the old expression, these things come in threes, that is the case here for this card, and I am super stoked. We got potentially 15 rounds of title fight fury. I mean, if you don't get up for this one, then you probably aren't a fight fan. But I think if you're watching this, you're definitely a fight fan. And if you come out and you check out the action this Saturday, you're going to see some great fights. So, let's dig in here.
Some housekeeping items real quick. Give us a like if you don't mind. Subscribe. That way you get notified when we post new content here on the channel. We'll be getting the videos from Aries 12 up here right after this event. So make sure you're subscribed. You get notified when we post that content. Also, make sure you follow our social media on Instagram and Facebook. Jeff, let's play this spot here and get in the mood to break this thing down.
Yes, sir. Let's take a look at this Saturday's Chattanooga Fight Night.
Saturday, October 29th, Aries Fight Series returns to Camp Jordan Arena, along with NFC and Conflict MMA for Chattanooga Fight Night. We have 12 bouts for the Chattanooga crowd, which includes 4 amateur title fights. The first ever Aries amateur flyweight champion to be decided when Hobbs Jackson Winks Vincent Van Alstine faces Striker Fight Center's Mario UMANA. We crown a new welterweight champion when Agogi's Richard Guerrero faces ATT's Ron Humphreys. 2 undefeated fighters, where someone's O must go. Middleweight champion Josh Booker defends his title versus ATT's Anton Brown. And in the main event, lightweight champion Carrington Johnson defends his title versus Militia MMA's and UTC standout George Carpenter. Doors open at 5 p.m. Event starts at 6. Tickets on sale at fightertix.com.
Shout out Garth Vader on the voiceover for that spot. Let's get into it, gentlemen. We've got 12 bouts on tap here this weekend at Camp Jordan. Get your tickets at fightertix.com, pay-per-view Expectation Sports. And we'll kind of cover these, in groups here. We got 3 prelims, 2 combat BJJ bouts that kick us off, guys. Robert Davis, we've seen the real Bulldog, Robert Davis, up out of Barberville, Kentucky. We've seen him in MMA competition in the past. Actually, It's been a minute, though. It's been about a year and a half since we've seen Robert in action. He did bring down some competitors like Carissa Hodge. He come down with her and help corner. He'll be taking on a big old boy, Donnie Castile, out of Agoge. Not a lot known about Donnie. I believe he is a white belt. He is a big, hossy dude, though, and they're going to be slapping the shit out of each other. 1 10-minute round, looking for submission. And then we've also got a featherweight combat BJJ bout, a couple blue belts going at it. Nick Thomas out of SBG Buford in Georgia, Straight Glass Gym. He'll be taking on Lyndon Gaethline, who is out of Agoge Combatives. And just real quick, guys, anything stick out to you guys on these two combat BJJs? Dylan, always a fun way to start the crowd off, with a little lighthearted slap grappling.
Yeah, and right off the bat here with Castile and Davis, it's going to be a heavyweight affair, which I feel like is a little bit more rare. I can't remember offhand. I know we've had the heavyweights with the grappling contest in the tag team realm, but to have a one-on-one here, this might be something a little bit different. Anytime you get competitors that are 265 plus pounds, the slams come into play, and it'll be interesting to see the Agoge fighter, Donnie Castile. It just seems like these Chattanooga cards are always stacked from start to finish with Agoge talent, and I'm sure he'll want to get his team off on a hot start. Robert Davis, though, more experienced, and I'm sure he's got different plans, and he wants to make a good impression in front of the Camp Jordan Arena. So that'll definitely be something to watch, and then it's exciting to see Lyndon again. We saw him once before, and he was victorious, and it'll be exciting to see how Nick Thomas tries to kind of derail some of the momentum he's got going.
Jeff?
Yeah. I think, just kind of condensing all the thoughts here, but it'd be good to see Robert Davis, sweetheart of a guy, always swears to God he's done and retired and going to concentrate on other things. And then he's always coming out of retirement and coming back. So it's cool to see him on. But, for me, it is Lyndon's kind of the story of these first two for me. If I'm not mistaken, he kind of was a last-minute replacement on the last card that he grappled on, and real unassuming guy because he's kind of he's a smaller guy, and kind of unassuming, and he's pretty damn good, and he was pretty impressive. So it's going to be cool just to kind of see him again and see how this thing works out for him. And like I said, he was impressive the first time we saw him. So I'm definitely intrigued to see him again and see really how good he is.
Rounding out the prelims, we've got K1 Kickboxing, our only kickboxing bout on this card. Odd, and I say this every time, odd how like the Chattanooga cards have just like less kickboxing than other cards. But it's going to be Broderick Kelsey making his debut out of Tom Galicchio's Militia MMA, Chattanooga, Tennessee rep. He'll be taking on Curly Sparks. Curly Sparks the fourth even, also making his debut out of the Stryker Fight Center, Kennesaw, Georgia, the first of 4 Stryker Fight Center fighters, first of 3 Militia MMA fighters. So they'll cross paths a little bit later as well in the main event. Also leading off the MMA portion of the card, we've got lightweights Chris Barnes looking for his first win, 0-3. Independently fighting out of Alabama, taking on Daniel Gonzalez, 3-3 out of Highest Stand in Dalton, Georgia. That'll be MMA. We go to MMA for the rest of the card, for that matter. Thoughts on these two guys? Anything stick out, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, Curly Sparks has got to be one of the coolest names. And not only is it one of the coolest names ever, Curly Sparks, there's 4 of them out there. There's 4 Curly Sparks. So definitely interested. I think it's really cool because Stryker Fight Center is definitely well represented on this card. So having just another bout on this card with a local, team there in the Chattanooga East Ridge area, fighting this group contingency from Stryker Fight Center. Don't know a lot about both of these guys, but know that this, Militia versus Stryker is going to be kind of probably a cool thing, with as much as Stryker's represented on this card. And they want to go back to Kennesaw undefeated for the night, and Militia does not want to lose in their hometown, so something's going to have to give there. So that's
Militia's still holding undefeated overall team record.
Absolutely, and they do not want to mess that up. But I know Stryker wants to go home with belts, and they want to go home undefeated too. So something's going to have to give there. Chris Barnes, 0-3 independent. and Daniel Gonzalez. We know Daniel Gonzalez. We've seen him before. Tough dude, man. Takes a lick and keeps on ticking, man. But I've been surprised, social media wise, that Chris Barnes has got some support out there. You know, you don't really think of it, independent fighter, but I've seen when we put his graphic up, a lot of hearts and whatever else they do, shields and Yas hands or whatever for Chris. So he's got a little contingency out there that are picking him and pushing him for this fight. So interested to see what he does in there with a salty vet like Gonzalez.
Dylan, your take here. Of course, Chris Barnes, good pals with Trevor Peak. So he's seen his good friend make it all the way to the top rung. Got to be inspiring to him to get in there and follow suit. Of course, Daniel Gonzalez coming off a couple losses himself. He's going to be hungry to get back in the win column.
Yeah, Daniel Gonzalez, he's 0 for 2 in his last 2, but not all 0 and 2s are created equal. A very high degree of difficulty, coming against Craig French and Justin Jamar. And I think, I see he's going by the moniker The Plan. The plan's got to be get the train back on the tracks, get some momentum going. Daniel Gonzalez is going to be very hungry. But Chris Barnes, big-time opportunity here. This will be the first chance that I'm getting to see him compete. And, Daniel Gonzalez, that would be a major, major feather in his cap. Just jumping back really quickly to the third fight. Militia, their momentum right now is off the charts, and I've been seeing on social media, Mary Rosenbeck, a couple of the other people over there at Militia, they're really excited to get a look at Broderick Kelsey. They feel like they've got somebody who is working really hard and is really honing their skills and is going to put a really good showing for himself in his debut. But then you take a look at this guy, and man, Curly Sparks sounds like a 1940s Major League Baseball player. But then I look and I see, like Raleigh Fingers or, just those names right out from yesteryear. But this guy's got an undefeated amateur boxing pedigree, and this is going to be a kickboxing contest. So really awesome matchmaking. I love seeing both of those fights. Very excited.
And both those guys fall into that size where we're always looking for challengers for young Tyler Jones. So you never know, one may be able to elevate eventually to challenge him. Moving on, next couple bouts, we've got a middleweight battle of debuts. We've got Cortez Wilson taking on LeVar Bibbs. Both guys first-timers. Cortez Wilson out of Phoenix MMA, Corey Robeson's group there in Hermitage. They've been rolling pretty well here as of late. He looks like a tall fella too, 6'3". He's going to be taking on the debuting LeVar Bibbs out of Arsenal Combat Sports. It's the first time we've gotten to see Arsenal Combat Sports out of Huntsville, Alabama. I'm very excited to see what they bring to the table. They've got a couple guys on this card, and we'll start you off. What we get to in this one as well here. We got the flyweights after that, 125 pounds. It'll be Trinity Swint. Record not great, 1-5 out of Team Ground and Pound, Villa Rica, Georgia. But we've been seeing those Ground and Pound guys up here as of late. They've been doing really well. Taking on Maverick Cooper, debut out of Striker Fight Center, Kennesaw, Georgia, the second Striker representative here. Trinity is coming off his first win, I'll say that. So he's got momentum coming in. And if you look at his record a little deeper, you'll see that he's very tough to finish. He's lost like almost all his fights by decision. So I actually think that this is a good fight here with him and Maverick Cooper, who's a young buck, only 20 years old. I was telling Jeff, I recognize Maverick because Cody Ortiz, when he fight for us, has always got like an entourage of 3 or 4 young bucks that are with him, and Maverick was part of the entourage, as I call it. So excited to see Maverick in action, see what he can do out there. And then, of course, excited always to influx some new talent in that middleweight division, which we're always grooming. Dylan, your take on these 2 fights?
Yeah, the Cooper versus Swint fight is going to be really interesting, I feel like, because Ground and Pound, especially coming off the last card out there in Knoxville, Swint training with Xavier Horton, who Xavier Horton is just really, really got a reputation as somebody that is, one, intimidating just because of his look, but two, because of his skills. And ground and pound, I believe they fielded a couple fighters on the last card, and it was a very appropriately named gym because they are taking people down and they're smashing their faces in. So Trinity Swint going to try and get his win number 2 and get that record back closer to 500. But like you're saying, Maverick Cooper coming out of Striker Fight Center. Striker Fight Center is another gym here that has just got so much momentum as they're featured on this card, and they've been racking up W's on Aries cards. So that's definitely got my attention. As far as the middleweight contest goes, I love seeing the 185ers get in there. I love the combination of speed and power, and I feel like Wilson or Bibbs will be one of those gentlemen is going to make a great first impression, and I always love seeing that on the Chattanooga cards. Whenever people debut, I always walk away with a couple more people on my radar, and I feel like that's going to be the fight that does that.
Jeff, your take here. I'll be paying special attention to this 185 bout, potentially to have someone maybe competing in Nashville in December.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just Nashville in December. I know just the fact that it's a 185 fight, you're going to be paying attention because, like you've said before, there's just a couple of divisions that it's always nice to be able to sprinkle in new talent and that's definitely the middleweight division is one of those for us. But looking at these two again, just for the sake of time here, I'm going to tell you what stands out to me and what I'm most intrigued about, and that is the Maverick Cooper fight with Trinity Swint, because you do have a debut on one side, so you've got kind of those debut bugaboos already about nerves and things like that, and but what he's got on the other side of him is don't look at the 1-5 record and think you're going to be able to call this fight. I think the key is going to be a debut fighter fighting someone that out of his 5 losses, only one time being finished. This is going to be a tough guy, not just because of experience, but again, you're going against somebody that out of just one time out of all his losses, these other guys haven't been able to finish him. So I think that's going to be the tough task for young Maverick, is what is apparently by his record, and if you dig deep and look at it, going to be a tough opponent to try to get out there in your debut fight. Usually it's a debut. Hey, it's an unknown. I don't know much about you. You don't know. Well, we know about Swint, and we know he's a tough guy. And we know that only one guy previously has figured out a way to end the fight early with him and not go to a judge's decision. So I think Maverick Cooper is going to be tough. He's coming from a great gym, but I think he's got his night cut out for him here.
Moving on, next 2 bouts on the undercard, we've got heavyweight action. Christian Mazariego taking on Luke Wilson, both debuts. Now, Christian has had a couple kickboxing bouts, but this will be his MMA debut, and he's representing Mushindo Martial Arts in Marietta, Georgia. He'll be taking on Luke Wilson out of the Gogi Combatives, who we've seen is one of our regular referees here, so he's looking to get in here and join his team on this one. Now, Luke originally was to face Sherman Washington down at 205. And now, since we've had a short notice replacement, this will be a heavyweight. So Luke will likely be giving up some pounds here, I would guess, to young Christian Mazariego. And then rounding out the undercard, we've got welterweight action. Ronald Humphrey, undefeated, 2-0 out of ATT Atlanta, takes on Matt Campbell, also undefeated, 1-0 out of Arsenal Combat, Huntsville, Alabama. Both these guys originally had different opponents. Ronald Humphrey was to face Richard Guerrero for the Aries welterweight championship. Guerrero withdrew this week. So, and then Matt Campbell was originally to face Skylar King, who had to withdraw last week with a medical situation. And so these guys rolled with the punches. We put them together here at the last minute. Jeff, what you got?
Yeah, I knew this time was coming. It's just hard for these guys like Luke Wilson, who are in the gym every day training and working out with these other guys. And that bug has got to catch you. I'm sure it does, man. We're like, I want to do this too. I want to get in there too. And Luke is, man, he is the salt of the earth, man. He is as tough as they come. He is, I don't know if he's going to be MMA tough, but when it comes to as a man, that dude is a scary, tough dude. So I imagine he is going to fit into this like a glove, if you will. But I felt like this was sure enough going to come around because you're in there every day with the Trevor Peaks and the Torres Finneys, and you're watching what they're doing. And man, I don't know that I could do it every day and not just say, man, I want to get in there and do this too. And so I'm really excited. This isn't new for us, man. It seems like every time we get a referee at some point, they're like, hey, I want to get in there. Hell, didn't we had referee versus referee at one point? So
That's right.
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we can do it again. Who knows? But it's going to be cool just because, again, as a referee, an official that works for Gamma, we've gotten to know Luke very well and his family, and his family's a big part of Aries because it's a family affair with him. His wife, his kids, they all, have jobs in the company on Fight Night for us. But this isn't a job. This is, Luke's not on the clock Saturday night. There's going to be another man standing across from him, desperately wanting to get their hand raised. So no favoritism going on with the employees Saturday night. He's gonna have to earn his check, so to speak, Saturday night. So I'm really interested. Love Luke Wilson to death. Mazarigo, we've worked with him before. Sweetheart of a guy, super nice guy, man, and definitely excited to see how he does in MMA. Being able to add a little more to his game than just stand up. He's going to be able to, without a referee pulling them apart, be able to put some of that weight on you. He's going to be able to lean on them. And if he can get them up against the cage and use that weight to his advantage and not get broken up like a stand-up fight will get broken up, it could get real interesting. Like you said, Luke has his first time in, he's gotten the full gambit of what it is to be an MMA fighter with, thinking you have an opponent's backing out, having to maybe make some concessions to keep your fight, and going up to heavyweight was one of them this time. So he's going to get, he's going to experience probably every bit of that heavy weight on him in this fight. So definitely interesting. Ronald Humphrey, Matt Campbell, for me, I hate Richard Guerrero and Humphrey not getting to see this title fight through. I was excited about that.
That was going to be really good, yeah.
It was going to be really good, and Richard has been in with us here recently in some grappling and tag team, I believe, grappling, and I remember how good after the whole weight debacle with the title fight last time, he didn't really let it get him down, and it looked like he just came back in these grapplings just more aggressive and thicker and stronger and better, and looked so good. For some reason, I don't mean for some reason, but it's just like, I don't know. He just looked so much more zoned in and better and aggressive. He just looked more aggressive, maybe is what it was in those grappling bouts. So I was really excited to see this. What I am still happy about, though, is both of these men are still undefeated. So just like the commercial said earlier, someone's still has to go, because both of these guys have not felt defeat yet. I'm really glad, honestly, that both these guys are still just getting to be on the card. It doesn't always work out like that, where two people's opponents drop out and they're both in the same weight class and you're able just to put them together. So I'm glad it did for both these guys, and they get to compete. And Ronald Humphreys, saw some tickets come through for you today. So it looks like you're going to have some fans there in the crowd. Excited, man.
Dylan, for the old school watchers out there, Ronald Humphreys' pops, a Bongo Humphrey, back from the Strike Force days. Maybe you may remember that name. That's his dad, Bongo Humphrey. But Ronald has looked very good in his two fights, 2 first-round finishes, real quick. Campbell also first-round finish. So neither one of these guys have, they've not tasted defeat, nor have they tasted the second round. And then, of course, excited to see Luke Wilson in there. And Mazariego already, he went 3 tough rounds with Big Johnny Hutchinson at the Joe. So that's quite a bit of cage experience already.
Yeah. Shout outs to Humphrey and Campbell. And also to Wilson and Mazariego. All these guys have had to deal with some scrambling here in the final days before the fight to make sure that they're going to have their moment to showcase their skills, and that's just a testament to the caliber of people and fighters that they are. Humphrey and Campbell, I was watching some footage, especially of Humphrey, and man, he's getting guys out of there quick, and he is explosive, and that is going to be interesting. I saw Matt Campbell brief highlight of his fight. I mean, his fight was brief because he's knocking people out in the first round. Lots of intrigue there. These both look like a couple of guys at 170 who are going to be skilled, and regardless of the results of this fight, both of the guys are young enough, and they're probably going to be around making an impact for some time. And, you know, I'm taking a look really quick, and I'll keep it short. As far as Luke versus Christian goes, Christian is getting to live out what a lot of, especially college football and pro football fans dream of. You got a chance to put your hands on a referee and not get in any trouble. Okay, that's the good news. But the bad news is that referee is Luke Wilson. So it kind of, you know, it's a tale of two stories there, and I'm excited to see what Luke can do. But Christian is very tough. He really went toe to toe with Johnny. He was giving up size in that fight. He was on the wrong end of the jab for the most part in that fight. But here in MMA, he can go ahead and get inside and use that weight advantage. So super excited for both of these fights.
Up next couple fights here on the main card, 4-fight main card. Lead things off, light heavyweight bout, 205 pounds. And this is a division that's starting to take some shape here. We've got some good contenders, and these two guys are definitely in talks as well. Josh Mackey, 2-0, undefeated out of Militia MMA, Chattanooga, taking on also undefeated and 1-0 Malik Jackson, ATT, Atlanta, Georgia. This is one this is my low key fight that I'm looking forward to. This first time that we've seen Josh drop from heavyweight down to 205. That's one thing. And then, of course, Malik Jackson, we saw a fight against Jake Volbrecht from Triple Crown back in the summer, and that was an absolute war. I think this one's going to be really good. Dylan, we'll knock out two here. Sorry. And then, of course, our feature bout up next after that will be with a couple guys that have got interviews up here on the site that I would encourage you to check out. It's going to be for the first ever Aries Flyweight Championship, five possible rounds, 125 pounds. Vicious Vincent Van Alstyne, 3-0 out of Hobbs Jackson Wink, Concord, North Carolina, takes on Mario UMANA, 1-0 out of Striker Fight Center, Kennesaw, Georgia. Two more undefeated fighters. That's a theme here. Is our last three fights, including this one. Nobody's taken any losses yet. Dylan, what you got?
So just real quick, I went back and watched that Malik Jackson and Jake Volbrecht fight, and I believe that was the Aries Fight Series 1, correct?
No, that was at the Joe. I would guess it was somewhere in the realm of maybe 5, give or take.
I apologize. It's actually Josh Booker's opponent that I saw from the first one there. But I was just excited because with the Aries birthday and all. Mm-hmm. But as far as Malik versus Josh Mackey goes, Mackey's going to have a lot of support. He's won both of his victories have come here at Camp Jordan Arena. I've gotten to call both of them. And he is somebody who I hate to say he's a slow starter. He's just faced a couple of guys who've come out and blitzed him. And then he has just had kind of the grit and the guile to withstand the early storm and then implement his game plan. So very excited to see the AT&T product, Malik Jackson, try and do what no one has done to Josh Mackey, and then put it on him early and then keep it on him for the duration of the fight. So we'll see how that one plays out. We just had a chance, Tim, to do the interviews there with Vincent Van Alstyne and Mario UMANA, and both of these guys are great young men, great fighters. But man, this is going to be electric. You got the flyweight title on the line. They've got such unique skill sets. Both have shown to be very proficient in the submission side of the game. Perhaps what could happen is that's going to cancel out. We're going to have two young men go into war for 5 rounds for the flyweight title. Sometimes in MMA, that is one of the most intriguing things that can happen, is when you have two people with the same strengths, it cancels out, and then it just comes to who's tougher, who's got the better gas tank, and who wants it more. So it's going to be super exciting to have a flyweight champion, and it's going to be great to have that kind of bat and lead off here for the first of 3 title fights.
Jeff.
Main card, all right, 4 fights, 8 fighters, and we've got a combined record of 16-2. It's pretty good. It's pretty good main card, man. Um, like you said, Vincent Van Alstyne and Mario UMANA will be posting up those videos for you guys to watch tomorrow when you watch this one too. But that's just intriguing altogether. And not to give away too much of our interviews, but you mentioned it before, Tim. Two guys, the last time we saw both of them, eerily similar fights. Some adversity in the beginning stages of the round and the fights, and coming back with some slick submissions and being able to weather that storm and it looked really good pulling out those subs. So two guys coming off very similar fights. Not a weight class that is real deep right now. So we're really lucky to have both of these up and coming, undefeated guys available to kick off this, a new title reign for somebody. We've got people knocking on the door. Bryce Warner, regardless of his record, man, I've never seen a guy that is so close to winning the Super Bowl, and then the kick just goes wide left. But he's right there, man, ready to come back. And he faced Van Alstyne and came up a little short the last time. But, that's somebody that's right. So we're trying to build this division, and I can't think of, however this turns out, anybody better than to carry us forward in this division than one of these two guys. I think it's going to be kind of a real fast and furious, which is always, what happens with 125ers. They got engines that don't stop. I definitely feel like on this one right here, it's just going to come down. Everybody can't slip in a fight, but I think this one is, if you slip just a fraction of a second, the other guy's going to pounce and take advantage. It's not going to be a methodical finish. It's going to be a quick, you just screwed up and I just caught you in something type of finish. If we do get one. The 205ers, like I said, Josh Mackey making that 205. Well, he hasn't made it yet, but on tomorrow night, making that 205 weight limit really makes a lot of things interesting now. He's got a lot to carry on his shoulders with the undefeated malicious streak that I can't remember, Tim, if he started the streak. He was on the card when obviously the streak started, but I can't remember if he was the first. He was the first fight for them, wasn't he, for us?
I want to say George may have been. I think George and Troy Williams, yeah.
Okay. He was on that first card, though, that started the undefeated streak. And so he's got a lot on his shoulders, and he has a good following there in the area. And he sells a lot of tickets for us. And, again, wheels turning in the future, because we tried to make a few things happen at this 205, a 1-0 Malik Jackson. You've got a 2-0 Josh Mackey. Someone obviously is coming out either 2-0 or 3-0. We've got Finn Martin in Nashville fighting in December, who is, looking to go 2-0. And that's a fight, Tim, I know you, with both of these guys, you tried to happen, and just by default, Finn wasn't available, and these two were able to get with each other. But we've got another kind of prospect 205 in Nashville that is going to fit in the mix here beautifully with either one of these guys, no matter how it pans out in the future, on a future early, probably 2023 Aries card. So a lot of cool things could come out of this fight. And I'm excited. Like I said, Mackey brings a crowd, but Malik Jackson is really looking good. So I'm with you, Tim. I think quietly these other fights are going to be good. There's no doubt. But I think this one could be that not belligerent crowd, but very passionate crowd type fight that they're going to be into it, because this one's probably going to have some back and forth.
Top two bouts on the card. Main event, co-main event, two more title fights for you guys. We've got the defending champion. We got two defending champions of both of these. Josh Booker, Gogi Combatants, defending 185 champion, undefeated 3-0. Will take on Anton Brown, 1-1 out of ATT Atlanta, Georgia. Anton is man, he's super tall. He's like 6'4", 6'5" himself. Josh Booker, another tall, rangy guy. We got a lot of like big dudes on this card. I'm excited for this one. Anton Brown previously held the fastest submission in Aries amateurs until the very last show when Frank Gallardo beat that by just a few seconds. But previously back at Aries 1, so this will be a year to the date that Anton made his debut and had a really nice submission there. He'll have his hands full here with Josh Booker, who just won a tough 5 rounds with Aaron Terrell. And then, of course, the main event, we've got the defending lightweight champion, Carrington Johnson, 3-1 out of Striker Fight Center, Kennesaw, Georgia, taking on George Carpenter. And George Carpenter out of Militia MMA, 2-0, trying to keep that undefeated record rolling. This one's going to be a good one, man. And Carrington has fought very, very tough competition in all of his bouts so far. So he's no stranger to tough competition, but George Carpenter also no stranger to tough competition. Both of his first 2 fights also against, really good guys. We will lead off with Jeff here. Final takes on these last 2 fights. I think that, if you're going to get the belt off of either one of these champs, man, you're going to have to come correct.
Yeah, I'm excited that we get to say defending, champions, defending belts. That's always a good thing. It doesn't always happen a lot in our industry at the regional level for one reason or another. A lot of people, when they're winning amateur titles, it's usually right before they've already made it known that they're going to go pro because they've got quite a few fights, or they're just not able to be as active as a promotion needs to be, and they have to vacate it. So we have to put it back up. So it's really cool that we're saying that we have 2 defending. We got 2 guys that are bringing the belts back instead of always buying new ones all the time. So it's really cool. Josh Booker, like I said, 3-0, looks good. Like you said, been in wars. The last time we saw him, Josh Booker was strong in the first round, looked good. Maybe even arguably to some people a 10-8 round is last time out. But I'm not making it up. Watch the video. Started to fade as the rounds got later and was able to let Aaron Terrell back in. So you have to wonder if an Anton is in a little better shape than Aaron Terrell was and motor can go a little longer, will he have, what Aaron wasn't able to do and capitalize, in those later rounds when Josh was fading. Maybe Anton can. That being said, we also can't just assume that Josh Booker is going to have that same performance either. It's not likely because we know where he trains and we know who his coaches are. So I've got to imagine he's going to be in much better shape this time. Not that he wasn't in good shape last time, but being in shape and cardio are 2 different things. So we got to think that he's worked on his cardio to make sure that he doesn't come close to letting one slip away to the judges. But also Josh Booker's game plan is not to go to the judges. So he's got the goods to get people out early. We're just gonna have to wait and see if Anton's going to be his Huckleberry in this one and oblige him. It's going to be a great fight. I definitely love how active Josh Booker is. I was looking up videos and just kind of looking through, his library the other day, and it's like, you don't get a lot of times here, where you find him this many videos on somebody. And I love how active that he's staying. And he's not one to really turn down fights or opponents either. Not a picky choosy type guy. And he's down for the cause. And I think this one's going to be this one is going to hit the championship rounds. The main event, you've got uber prospect in George Carpenter. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. He is your uber prospect here. He's got all that potential and upside and that blue chipper. If this was high school football, he's your 5-star guy. But man, something about Carrington Johnson, you cannot sleep on this kid. I'm going to tell the truth. I didn't think he was going to be able to withstand Justin Jamar. I thought Justin Jamar maybe just, athletically too much for him because Justin Jamar had been looking so good here lately. I thought that was going to be, Jamar's fight in the end. And Carrington, man, he is I don't want to say sneaky good because he's good, but when you think that this may be the one, or it's not, man. This kid is good, man, and he's poised as all get out. And while I stand beside that, I think Malik Jackson and Josh Mackey is going to be just an exciting, fun crowd participation war. This main event, I think, is just going to be skill wise and two guys kind of beyond their years in regards to their records in skill and performance. I think this is just going to be flat out a really, really good fight.
Dylan, final take of the night.
Yeah, so we're going down here. It is the final two fights of the night. It is the middleweight title and it is the lightweight title. And these are a couple of divisions that always seem to produce fights of the night. And the first name jumping off at me, Josh Booker, the last two times I've seen him, the guy has been involved in what many people thought was fight of the night. And I think at Nashville, he did win fight of the night. And man, the kind of fights that he had in the last two, you could just as easily say maybe he didn't get the job done because his opponent fought him that tough. But honestly, the fact that he came out on the right side of it, I just feel like it's going to be giving him the edge and experience. He's been in these kind of wars before, and I bet you if I got to talk to Josh probably wouldn't want to be involved in a war. He's probably going to want to go in there and blow the doors off of his opponent, get his belt, and move on to 4-0. Anton Brown looked great in the tape study I did. The guy's got really explosive movements, covers a lot of range. The name of this game for him is going to be how he carries and manages his energy for 5 rounds. I really think that there's going to be a lot of wrestling, but wrestling is one of the hardest things to do when you get tired. And in a title fight, it's going to be about who can counter wrestle, who can stop the takedown, who can get to dominant position. I'm really, really excited to see if Josh can defend his title. He's a great guy. I always look forward to seeing him when we all get together here for the weigh-ins and even after the card. I've talked to him a couple times. Really funny guy. Great champion, and I'm excited to see if he's able to hang on to the belt. And then the main event is the main event because, man, it's an electric matchup. Carrington Johnson, so solid in every facet of MMA. We saw him use his wrestling against Justin Jamar. And don't sleep on his striking. The guy's a great athlete. I mean, you don't look like how Carrington Johnson looks like and not be able to punch and kick really hard. I'm sure he's excited to show off his striking, but
well, interrupt you. He's got a head kick knockout over Marjoel Kirby in his debut, and it's hidden in the vault somewhere. But yeah, he's knocked guys out too.
Yeah, because we saw him win via sub over Justin Jamar, but man, that's he's got a complete skill set, and he's getting better each time we see him. The guy seems like he's just sharpening it up each time. George Carpenter is somebody that is really exciting. His last win in Chattanooga, his wrestling is just so good. His opponent in that fight was supposed to be this accredited wrestler who was going to implement his game plan and show that, George wasn't ready yet. But not only was George ready, George looks to be a little bit ahead of schedule here. He looks to be somebody that is going to put pros on notice should he want to turn pro, assuming he's victorious, and the fact that he's going to have so much support in the building. His gym's right down the road. Militia, maybe at this point, will still be undefeated. Can you imagine if we get to the main event, Militia's still undefeated, and he's fighting for a title in the main event? We're doing this to preview for the fans, but just talking about this main card is pretty freaking insane, man. So I'm fired up for this one. All of these title fights are going to be insane, but George Carpenter, Carrington Johnson, if that's your pick for fight of the night going into this, that's a solid prediction. Honestly, there's a couple of fights in here that I feel like have just as much chance to be fight of the night. But I'm super stoked. It's going to be an honor to call 3 title fights in one night. And I'm sure we're going to walk out of here with 3 champions that are going to be making the company proud and making themselves proud because these are great fights. I can't wait for this.
You catch all the action this weekend on Spectation Sports. Be there live in person if you can, though. Get your tickets at fightertickswithx.com. It's Chattanooga Fight Night, co-promotion with us at Aries, along with our good pals at Conflict and NFC. appreciate everybody for sitting in and breaking down the fights with us, guys. We'll be back with a recap next week as we get ready to truck into Aries 13, which is November the 11th. A lot of good shit to talk about with that card in the coming weeks. That's a really, really good card as well. So look forward to seeing everybody at the fights this weekend. For Jeff Hobbs, for Dylan McCarthy, I'm Tim Lloyd. This has been another edition of the 0 Hour. We'll see y'all next time.
See you guys.